We discuss all of the issues that concern Nigerians as a whole. 3 segments through 3 hours. We're about to begin the first segment, World Rounds. Let's discuss the political issues that bother us as a nation. Today, we're going to be looking at Governor Emefiele's suspension. Stay with us. Now, on Friday, it is absolutely no news anymore, but on Friday, President Tinubu suspended Godwin Emefiele, that is, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And that was following an ongoing investigation of his office and the planned reforms in the financial sector of the economy. Now, truth is, it has sparked significant controversy and raised concerns about the potential impact on the country's economic policies. On the program today on World Rounds, we intend to examine the decision to suspend the CBN governor, the rationale behind it, the political consequences for Nigeria's economy. I'm going to be having myself, of course, Chinwe Blessing. I'm going to be having a conversation with an economist, a financial analyst. He was here in the morning. We had a very beautiful conversation and we're continuing it right now. I'm talking about no other person but Mr. Steve Wachuku. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an extreme pleasure. Let's get straight into it. Like I always say, let's hit the ground running. Let's have an overview of the president's suspension of the CBN governor. What would you say are the circumstances that led or has led to the suspension of the CBN governor?
There could be some political undertones, and there also could be some, obvious administrative lapses from the side of the governor of the CBN and the institution itself. But let's look at it first, the political undertone. Remember, to the build up to the election, Emefiele was involved in trying to redesign Naira and take some currencies notes out of circulation, and which we had was contesting Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that he is not in good terms with that policy, and that some of them in the APC felt that the policy was targeted at them. Because it's believed that because they are ruling party, they have a lot of funds within their purviews to actually, determine how the election goes, or even allegedly involve in vote buying. So the CBN took that decision to redesign and limit the withdrawal strength or capacity of Nigerians, which it will really affect the campaign process. It will also affect the ability to, win votes in that election. So that's the political undertone about it. But let's go back to the main issue, which should be the concern of every one of us, which is it administratively correct? Was there things that CBN governor did, obviously administratively, that needed him to be suspended so that the government will investigate? Yes, there could be a couple of things. CBN the Emefiele particularly has been reckless in the way he has been dishing out some intervention money. Remember, from the time of the, COVID, the CBN governor have dished out close to 8 trillion naira in one form of intervention or the other. Even prior before then, he has also spent a lot of Nigerian hard-earned money, which possibly, allegedly, is not accountable, in the sense that 8 trillion naira, and you have close to 70 to 75% impairment. Impairment in the sense that you can't find those money anymore. It's more like loans that have those who have extended the loans to have defaulted. So that's a good administrative issue to actually investigate the person and the institution itself of the Central Bank of Nigeria. There was level of recklessness. And another issue also is on these very ways and means of the CBN, which the last administration was actually over-favored, in the sense that the Buhari administration got about 23 trillion through ways and means, and which outrightly they actually flouted the law. That's the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which forbids the CBN to give out such facilities or such budget support loans to the tone at which the Central Bank of Nigeria actually did. So that was the three main issues that I think is laudable enough to actually investigate the person of the governor and the institution itself. So I think for now, let's give it that it was done in good faith administratively.
I mean, there are people that are going to argue that, Emefiele is being used as some kind of scapegoat because there was an entire administration. Why is he the person that is going to have to saying that, you literally just said he favored the past administration in ways that, but then why is he the one that is taking the fall for it? There was an entire administration. Some people would say, these questions are being asked, is he being used to cover up some of the lapses of the past administration?
In as much as possible, I will still agree to the fact, yes, there are a lot of culprits. Even for me, I think even Buhari, the Osibajo, and some of these key ministers should also be called to account. You remember some time ago, Ibekachuku lamented what is going on in the oil and gas sector. When Buhari was sick, they have to take papers to him. When he has a substantive minister for state, that should have been taken, or the vice president. So they have to take memos to him in UK or in London where he was and others. So there are a lot of things that this government need to unravel in the sense the way they run. So the CBN, having been involved in this reckless spendings, reckless interventions, and the Anchor Borers Fund, which was meant with good intentions. In fact, like I keep saying, is a very good package where you have the Anchor Borers Fund. You set aside some certain volume of money to facilities to help our farmers to grow grains. Grains is substantially part of what we daily basis or Nigerians on daily basis consume. So we have the cost of bread. A loaf of bread is selling above 800, 700, 1000, 15, depending the brand and depending your location. So the grains contribute a lot to this very high cost. You see corn, you see the egg. The grains was actually an essential part of our daily food items in our table. So CBN coming up with that Anchor Borers Fund to actually aid farmers to cultivate and bring this grain, even if it's not for our reserves in our silos, at least to cushion the rising price of corn and grains in our market. That was laudable. But what really happened? We witnessed and we watched that those funds ended up in the pockets of what I call political portfolio farmers, not really the farmers that actually needed that fund to cultivate those grains and make it available for Nigerians. So that's the questions I think that this the former CBN governor, suspended CBN governor, has to answer, and I'm sure he must have been providing those answers. How far have you gone? How far was the recovery of the funds that was used for those very money? Like I said, 8 trillion naira from an institution that is not saddled with any responsibility of building projects. You've spent 8 trillion naira, and those money, like I said, close to 70% of it has impairment on it. Impairment means that 80 to 70% you cannot recover. You're already calling it a bad loan. 8 trillion and you're calling 70% of it already a bad loan. While you, as a regulator, as an institution of government who regulates the commercial banks, has a law or currently is enforcing your part of your policies on the commercial bank that 5% is the maximum you can provide as a bad loan. So imagine when you are now involved in that. Remember, First Bank MD was recently sacked about a couple of months ago as a result of the size of impairment in the balance sheet of First Bank Nigerian PLC. That was why the MD and the chairman was actually removed. Now you, as a central bank governor who provide these very policies of government and decisions, you are already making a provision for impairment close to 70%. So that's good enough for him to actually get
Be
off.
investigated.
Even the issue, remember the build up to the election, he bought forms, he become a politician, he wanted to run for president. That's enough alone. In fact, at that point, he should have even resigned.
I mean, you mentioned the elections, and then that just takes me back to during the elections, the current president of the federation, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he made a statement in, I think, Ogun State or Osun State, where he said that one of the major reasons why the CBN governor now suspended Governor Emefiele was pushing that because he did not want him. Like it was centered around him and his race and his his campaign. It looked like, so some people are saying there is bad blood between Godwin Emefiele and the president, and the president is just using this as a means to run after him. Sorry, I want to link it to my next question, which is, what is the legal framework and constitutional provision governing the removal of a key economic official, especially when we are talking about something like the CBN? The CBN is supposed to be independent of the government. Does the president have the powers to suspend the CBN governor?
Yes, I think before I get to if it's constitutional, the president has the constitutional powers to actually take the directions or the steps so far it has taken. Let's look at also the political undertone, like you talked about. Is the president been hunching, trying to pay him back for the things he did to him prior before the election? You cannot still unravel most of this thing. There could still be possibility of that, that perhaps you were on my side, perhaps you didn't favor me, perhaps you did not do one or two things to say that I scared through the process of the election, and you couldn't provide this or that for me. There could be some possibilities of such permutations. But back to the issue, does the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has the constitutional power to fire or hire and fire such an individual, having in mind that it has a constitutional role? The office of the CBN and the CBN is a constitutional matter, and they are statutory that they are sort of independent of those who runs the governments. Yes, I will tell you, you see, when we talked about the issue or the power surrounding the president, when they say it's enormous, it's too plenty, there will be certainly some sections of the constitution or some sections of the powers of the president that he can invoke and that will give him such rights. So, but based on the face value, CBN governor has a tenured period, and that tenure runs for 5 years, and you cannot, once you appointed him and being confirmed by the Senate, which is the National Assembly, you can only reverse back to Senate and all that process to happen. But like I said, there are enormous power of the president. He can cite national security reasons. He can cite a lot to say, yeah, I don't need this guy here because he is actually running against the government or all that. So there could possibly be enormous ways of removing him, which I think this very process is. Now, remember, the word is suspension. He has not been removed. So by the time they find him, indict him on one or two things, now you can invoke those powers to actually totally remove him. So he has the powers to actually suspend him, and which he has done.
Okay, then I want to, because we don't have so much time, let's talk about what is going on right now and what a lot of people are saying. There are lots of analysts that are saying that the suspension of Nigeria's central bank governor by, of course, Bola Tinubu will usher in the much needed monetary policy reform and strengthen the exchange rate at the parallel market, which we kind of touched on that in the morning. But I want us to just look at how is the impact of the CBN governor's suspension on Nigeria's economic stability and credibility. Being known that, of course, in the past, people have criticized his administration when he was CBN governor, his time there, and they said some of his policies were just not flexible enough for growth. And right now, it seems like a lot of people are very optimistic as to what can happen. How would you assess it?
Now, to assess it is actually to look at who is the next. What is his posture? What is his policy direction? We've not yet to see anything. But yes, most times when you remove people in the helm of affair. People have become enthusiastic. People have become optimistic that yes, the new person is going to turn another direction that will favor the economy or favor businessmen or favor industries and all that. So we believe such will definitely happen, because a couple of policies that he has handled, quite sure he mismanaged most of them. This cashless policy was one of it recently, where Nigerians lost jobs and our GDP contracted as a result of tightening or the scarcity of cash within the system to actually give Nigerians the opportunity to operate and also transact and stimulate the economy in the larger sense of it. So there are a lot of policies taken by the past administration or the suspended CBN governor which wasn't that good, but in his own permutations or calculations or those he works with, because it's a team, it's not just the governor, there are a team of MPC, that is the Monetary Policy Committee members, about 12 or thereabouts or 13 of them. So it simply means that the rest of them, even the man in the acting position, is still a culprit, because you are part and parcel of the CEO Emefiele's administration. The decisions they take, the MPR that is currently at 18.5%, is still a decision of the MPC member. So it's not just the man, the governor Emefiele. Yes, he controls, he leads, he gives a direction of where the CBN is heading to and all that. Yes, like you asked, is Nigerians enthusiastic, happy, expectant that yes, things will change? Yes, we are all hopeful that the worst will not happen to us.
All right, then. This has been very interesting. Don't forget, you can join the conversation by dropping a message via our WhatsApp platform 0700-010-961-961. I call the number again, 0700-010-961-961. We're going to take a very quick break, pay some bills, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Different toppings with delicious fillings you can resist. Have a pizza for meal with Romeo's Pizza. Every bite is nice. Every slice brings a smile that helps you come alive. Romeo, the pizza champion.
Lounge, the gathering of men.
To be a man, wow. To be a man, wow.
Here we go. My name is Jesse. My name is Adam. We're from Ben Maroon 5.
Updated music.
I-93.
VOP 96.1 FM.
We'll be right back in a second, so don't touch that dial.
World Rounds back on Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja. Thank you very much for staying with us. We have been having a conversation right here about, the suspension of the CBN governor Emefiele and, what it means for Nigerians generally. We've asked for your insights, and some of you have responded to us. Don't forget, if you want to join the conversation, you could definitely drop a message on our WhatsApp platform. The number is 070010961961. We have this comment right here. The person says, some said the CBN governor's arrest was a result of its economic policy over the past 8 years. But one must ask if he has been the president for the past 8 years or the coordinator of the economy for the last 8 years. How about the Minister of Investment or the Minister of Finance? Why can't we blame the former CBN Governor Soludo for the failure of the economy during President Jonathan's tenure? Or why aren't we blaming CBN Governor Soludo for the economic failure of the Obasanjo era? Nigerians can easily speculate that this government is only looking for someone to take the fall for the failure of the last government, or creating a smoke screen. Or is it just confused about its priority? But whichever it is, I think it's too early for all of that. The government must focus and hit the ground running, as there are so many challenges facing it that it must confront. My 2 cents, and by the way, kudos to your guest in the studio. Do you have any comments on that?
Perfectly said. Perfectly said, in the sense that, like you would keep querying, the government is not just the monetary policy aspect. You also have the physical players. We have the Minister of Information, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Planning, the Minister of Commerce, Industry. We also have Foreign Affairs. These are core key decision takers in the government, which the monetary aspect is just a kind of supplementary to augment what decisions they have taken. We have also the almighty Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, which most of these intervention, social programs, welfare programs have gone, and a couple of them running in trillions. So we also have the one done by the famous son, Festus Kayamo, through what did they call it again, 774 program that has to do with training, internship programs in the 774 local governments of the federation. So a couple of them are actually involved. The money was not actually dished only to himself as a governor. It was also spreading across these very agencies of ministry that I've mentioned. So the writer or the responder actually hit it on the nail. It's not just him. Like I said, Buhari should take the headlong. If there is any man that should account for what has happened in the past 8 years, it should be former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Okay, then we have this person just asked question, said, why is the CBN governor being arrested? What is he being arrested for exactly? How is it that the government is barely 1 month old and is suspending the Apex Bank governor?
Yes, like I said earlier, there could be good reasons why he was arrested, and there are also bad reasons. So from the political side of it, there are bad reasons. If he took any decision, he took it for the good and betterment of Nigeria. That has to do with the cashless policy and the rest. But if the good reasons are, like I mentioned, the administrative reckless spending or dishing out, opening the vault of the central bank to the cronies of the president and the rest, yes, he should account for it, because he should run the office of the CBN as responsible, as responsive. He should, not just as a political tool for politicians. That institution has a quasi independency. You shouldn't take decisions of the monetary policy decisions just to favor few individuals. Just like we talked about the issue of round tripping we've witnessed in the past 6, 7, 8 years. You see, go back to the parallel market and makes hundreds and billions of naira to the detriment of the commercial, the manufacturers, industrials, those who genuinely need this very currency to import one raw material or the other. So if his arrest is based on that, yes, is justified. He should be probed. Every one of them that are involved in that round tripping should be involved, should be investigated. But it's on the other side of the political that he ran presidency against the current president in the same political platform, or that he introduced a cashless policy toward end of the last administration or close to the election, that it affected you. No, this shouldn't be the reasons why you should investigate the person and the office of the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria.
We have this comment from Udua, a message from Udua. Udua is in Maitama. It says, it makes no sense that the same CBN governor that has served two governments, both the Jonathan government and the Buhari government, neither of them deemed it fit to suspend him, but the government that's barely over a month old, not only suspending him, but has him arrested by the DSS. Why is it the DSS and not the EFCC that's arresting him?
That's another big question.
That's a big question.
Depending on the issues, just like you remember that the DSS some couple of months ago was actually looking for him with some charges that he is financing terrorism, which to me, I don't know the security, the previews that the DSS, yes, they are our intelligence, they are our eyes, they are our nose, they can sniff at things. I don't know to what extent that could be true, or the possibility of it being true that the person of the CBN governor was actually financing terrorism. I think it's there in the news. It's not even alleged. They were looking for him a couple of months ago when he has to run to US for health grants and all that before he came back. So yes, on that ground, it is ESS, but if it has to do with the recklessness of his office in spending and open the national vote to cronies of the politicians of the APC or the Villa or the president, former president, he should be investigated by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, not the DSS.
Yeah, the last one I have for now before another one comes in. This person, I think it was the first person that sent the first message. He says, it's beginning to look like a witch hunt because it was widely speculated before the general election that the cashless policy implemented by the Apex Bank was to deprive corrupt politicians of vote buying during the election. The speculation was not even far-fetched because a bunch of politicians even went as far as taking the CBN governor to court to overturn the new regulation. So it looks like a witch hunt to me. That's what this person is saying.
Yes, it seems like it's that's what the political aspect I talked about, that we should not indulge in it. There's nothing beautiful, there's nothing that's supportive of whatever decision the president have taken from the political view of it. So if the CBN as an institution takes a decision, remember that the cashless policy has been evolving. It has been a federal government policy anchored by the Central Bank of Nigeria since 2012. You remember there was a time we had a pilot states. It wasn't even this MFLA that started it. It was then the Soludo, former Emir of Kano, Sanusi. Yes, it was him that actually started it in 2012, the cashless. So it was evolving. There was limit you can withdraw. There are limits you can deposit in corporate and personal account. Those are cashless policy plans. And at this time, the CBN, or this current administration of the CBN, which headed by Mefele, decided to go all on to actually make it a national policy, in the sense that those who living in the rural area, those living in everybody has to be forcefully, if I use the word forcefully or compulsorily, enroll or migrate into the cashless system, which wasn't Nigerians were actually due for that. That was the hitches he had, and it wasn't well planned is another thing. And also the number of baskets of currencies he intended to take out of the circulation. You can't take out 500, 1,200 naira notes out of circulation at the same time. These are the three most widely used currencies of the Nigeria. Three most widely used. If you check the pockets of Nigerians, if you check your wallet and check your colleague's wallet, you find that you can't find 15 naira. You hardly will see 15 naira. It's either 1,500 and 200 naira. And you decided to take such kind of decision at the same time within that shortest period of 45 days. Remember it to start December 15th and end 31st of January. So it was quite short. 45 days wasn't good enough to take out such volume of money out of circulation. Remember, other clients in the UK, they actually did their own recently, and it took them like 2 years or thereabout, or 1 year. So it should be a policy that should be ongoing, maximum or minimum of 6 months to 1 year, but he chose to use 45 days. So it could there could still be possibility of political undertones to it, trying to stop those who indulges in vote buying the consciousness of Nigerians. So maybe they wanted to achieve that, but you don't use a financial instrument to fight a political tool. You don't do that. You use an institutional framework, which is the INEC. You use institutions, the EFCC, the police, and the rest. They should man those polling units. If you find anybody violating any of those rules, you arrest them, not by using an institution like CBN to fight such political anonymous.
Well, that would make a lot of sense. Now let's talk about the potential effects on monetary policies, fiscal management, and the overall economic governance. That's the effects of this suspension on this issue, on this.
What will it do? It's just an individual being removed, being suspended. The institution is works. The other department directorates, they are all working. In fact, we have an acting CBN governor. So as an institution is there working. What will it look like in the face of international investors? Yes, they may still need some level of stability because they often see the policy inconsistency of Nigeria. So they may actually watch until you have a substantive CBN governor if they have any financial or monetary deals with Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Steve Wachuku. This has been a very, very interesting conversation, just like we did in the morning. Very interesting. Thanks so much for coming by. We have been discussing, of course, the CBN's governor suspension, that's Godwin Emefiele's suspension by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What are your final thoughts? Let's wrap that up in 2 minutes. We actually do.
Okay, I think I would rather advise the federal government in most of its policy decisions to be think through. It should be a thorough think. They should not just be in a hurry or in a rush to take decisions. They should rather be decisive, one, and also be determined, as in follow through their policies, and they should have a well strategic map-up plans. And for those of them that will be manning both physical and monetary positions, like the ministers that you'll be appointing, you should go and look at for the experts, look at for those who are empathetic to the sufferings of Nigerians, those who are sincere enough, not those who are coming to fill their pockets. They should look out for those, at least for those skill ministries, the Ministry of Minister of Finance, Minister of Budget and National Planning, Minister of Industry, Commerce, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These three key ministries should be a thorough technocrat, those who knows their owns, those who understands why they should be there and dish out the right policies to stimulate the economy and get Nigeria working, or get Nigeria popping again, because a lot of unemployment there. Like I said earlier, the misery index is there staring at us. The unemployment is over 40%. The underemployment is there. A lot Nigerians are passing through. We need good individuals to man the helm of affairs of these parasites and advise the president correctly and right decisions taken, so that Nigerians the sufferings will be alleviated.
All right, then in conclusion, I'd personally say President Tinubu's suspension of the CBN governor has raised very, very significant concerns and uncertainties regarding its implications for economic policies in the country at the moment. The decision to suspend the CBN governor must be thoroughly examined, considering its potential benefits and drawbacks, as well as its impacts on the country's economic stability and credibility. The independence of the central bank and the transparent and effective governance of the economic policies are very critical factors to consider moving forward. It is very essential for stakeholders, including you and me, to closely monitor the developments and ensure that decisions regarding Nigeria decisions regarding the CBN governor's suspension are made in the best interest of Nigeria's economy and the welfare of citizens. Like I always say, the country is our only home. If it affects one Nigerian, it affects every single one of us. We don't have anywhere else to run to. Get involved, get understanding, get knowledge,